Welcome back. Today we're talking about Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. This is a real famous story. I read it in high school, and you may have too. Um, but I think it's still, one worth reading at a higher level in college and study of literature. This is written in 1948, so an interesting time. Just finishing the Second World War. You have the sort of large middle class growing at this time, coming back from war, creating a consumer culture, families, people on the GI Bill. So a lot of upheaval in society. We've also, by 1948, we're starting to learn what really happened in World War II. It becomes clear that Hitler's network of concentration camps did exist and was involved in the extermination of huge numbers of Jews, gays, gypsies, enemies of the state in general. Um, and with it came a new dawning of like the possibilities for evil within man, what we really were capable of and are capable of in terms of things like genocide and torture. Uh, Hannah Arendt, studying the trial of Eichmann in Jerusalem years later, called it the banality of evil. This idea that regular people who are not horned devils, who are not evil sociopaths, can participate in a monstrous evil and can be essentially evil, that it lurks within us and that it's been with us all along. So this is one of the themes I think that Shirley Jackson is looking for. Now, this is a Gothic short story, and yet a lot of the trappings of the Gothic we don't see here. We don't see much darkness or anything that seems sinister till the end of the story, of course. In fact, it's something of a trap, right? It's so non-Gothic that we are led to believe that things are sort of wholesome here, that this is some sort of county fair type ritual of this wholesome American town, doing some kind of drawing, some kind of raffle. And Jackson sets it up so if we've never read it before, she sets it up so we don't expect that what this is really about is drawing slips of paper to pick someone to be stoned to death by the community in a random way. Now, we can sort of imagine this seems far-fetched. I would say that Shirley Jackson even probably doesn't think that this happens or could happen in a society, specifically this way. However, at the same time as it's far-fetched, it probably has some resonance, so it probably indicates something more than just what it is stated on the page. And so I want to use this story to really talk a little bit about metaphor and its extension, allegory. Metaphor is something like a comparison. A comparison of like or as would be a simile. A metaphor is where it's just stated and the like or as is implied. So, we're surrounded by metaphor all the time. And when you look into a short story like this, you have to say, is there a secondary meaning to any of the objects or people in the story? Might want to look at, for example, the black box in which they store these slips for this event, or the names of the people. We have a lot of naming here. And you wonder, what significance would those names have? What are they trying to say in terms of metaphor? What are they trying to show beyond just how they're stated on the page? For example, the box might be in some way a metaphor for tradition, an archaic tradition. We can't even remember what the original box looked like. We don't know why it became part of the tradition, but it becomes a hallowed part of this tradition, and is almost not questioned for the most part. It's just the way things are done. What do you think she's drawing a parallel to? What in our society, or in other societies around the world from her time or our time, what do they do that is barbaric and archaic and based on tradition, not any necessarily direct moral sense for what they hope to achieve? In a larger sense, that brings us to allegory. So when a metaphor like this, the box is tradition, becomes a story, a system of metaphors, a story of metaphors. So this little story here, The Lottery, is intended as an allegory. The same way that Lord of the Rings could have been read, the entire series could have been read as an allegory for the Second World War. Again, we're talking 1948 here. And By the way, Tolkien never thought that Lord of the Rings was an allegory, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is what the reader sees. And the reader says that this is a commentary on the Second World War and the various nations of the world and how they acted and behaved during the Second World War. Now, as for allegory here in the lottery, my question to you is, what is this an allegory for? What is this really about? What is it trying to say about us and our traditions? Is it commenting on our justice system, on our religion, and our use of church and scripture? What is she trying to say about human beings and about Americans in particular with this gothic trap of a story that seems all sunny and light, but leaves us in a place where we're deeply uncomfortable about the possibilities of human nature? Let's consider some of those stories, some of those ideas, as we write about this one on the blog. You can also use this, of course, in your essay coming soon. I also have a blog post up that will give you some idea of a model for this. Look on the A&P blog if you are ahead and you haven't seen that as one example of what we're trying to do. Okay, I think that's all we've got for today, but please do stay in touch with me. Email, come by the office, set up an appointment, and also let's participate. I will be jumping in on your blog posts and commenting, that kind of thing as well. Hope you enjoyed this story. We're moving on to some newer but probably equally dark and disturbing stories. Those are, in my mind at least, more fun than the staid ones. But I hope this gives you a little taste of what American writers are doing as literature moves from James Joyce and the early modernists up through today's writing. Thanks a lot. Look forward to hearing from you soon, and have a good one.